Dr. Luke Evans.
Thank you, Chair, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak in the general COVID update debate. And last time I spoke, I welcomed the tiered approach that the government put in place to dealing with the COVID virus. And today I'm pleased to welcome the support the government has put in place as a further measure that's more nuanced and more targeted that will help those in most need. What I've been asking in questions today is about roadmaps and plans for the future. If we start with the economic side, I think this is really key. After meeting with the Hinkley bid last night, one of the biggest questions they had is what happens if we move from a Tier 1 to a Tier 2 situation. And I was pleased to say to them that the Treasury is listening and the Chancellor is listening. And today, that message was heard and new support was put in place. And that will be greatly welcomed both in Bosworth and up and down the country of that security. But the other thing that businesses need is some form of certainty and roadmap of where they are going. And we are lucky in this House to have a learned friend, the member for Sutton Coldfield, who's no longer in his place, who has highlighted areas that I have concern. After meeting with constituents and businesses last Friday, the wedding industry, the events and conference industry and the travel industry are all going to face difficulties by the very nature of their business they're in. People business. Where does the virus thrive? In people interaction. So they feel as though they are zombie businesses. They're not officially closed, but they equally can't open fully because there is no trade for them. I think there's a reasoned argument to say that because of that, they need some certainty over what may come in the future for them, be it a roadmap of how to get there, what support may look like after we've made choices in the hospitality sector before. Equally, there are non-fiscal measures we can take to relook at the levers that we may be able to pull over licensing to allow change of use, extension of licensing, so these businesses can actually, like weddings, use their facilities in a different way. After all, they are keen to be open, they are keen to innovate. We need, as government, to give them the chance to be able to do so. When we talk about roadmaps, though, I'm also pleased to hear today about a further roadmap when it comes to health. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, both to the Health Secretary and indeed this House, of the importance of knowing where we are going and how we innovate to get our way out of this. And it's fantastic news to hear that laminar flow testing is being rolled out. Because until we have a vaccine, this is the way to enable people to take responsibility of their own testing in organisations and indeed, hopefully, even in their personal situation, where when they go to school, when they go to the hospital, when they come to Westminster, they're able to test themselves, find they are negative, and carry on with their daily life. If, of course, they are positive, they're able to be followed up and isolated in the correct way. And I think this is really important and will be a stalwart step until we get that vaccine. And I was pleased to hear in the Health Select Committee from Prof Edmonds that they feel, Sage, a vaccine is coming. And that's important when you factor in what lockdown measures to take, because there's a big difference between waiting for months or waiting for years. But that comes with a word of caution. Chris Whitty, from the very start, both in private and public announcements, said there are a range of measures that are easy to do that all have a different weighted impact. And we can't lose sight, if we are getting a vaccine, if we are getting improved testing, of the simple basics that must be in place. That is, hands, face and space. Without doing those, it's going to be very hard to control the virus, both with the testing and even when we start to roll out a mass vaccination. So I'm keen that the government is clear to articulate this message and continue to push the hands, face, space. Because let's face it, the virus has opened Pandora's box. What we really need to see is the guarded hope left.
Chair.